Welcome to Rges Prealgebra. Our first lesson is 1.1 and 1.2. We're going to be talking about basic operations. The first thing you see on this page is that I'm going to review some terms with you. These terms become important as we look at word problems. I would say that if you want to take any notes on this lecture, feel free to and put them in your binder, but it is not required because you are free to look back at these notes anytime you need to by replaying the YouTube video. All right, for our terms, addition, the values we add together are called the addends, and the answer is the sum. It's especially the answers that you want to pay attention to the vocabulary. For subtraction, the top number is called the minuend. The bottom number that you are subtracting is called the subtrahend, and the answer is the difference. For multiplication, the values you are multiplying together are called the factors, and the answer is the product. And for division, we have the dividend divided by the divisor, and the answer is the quotient. What that would look like here, if you're doing it in long division, this would be the dividend, this would be the divisor, and this would be the quotient. When some basic rules to remember is when you're working with addition and subtraction, make sure you align by the ones place. That would be if I'm adding 732 plus 28. I am aligning to the ones place before I begin, if it were written horizontally or something. You want to carry as needed for addition. You want to borrow as needed for subtraction, or you may want to try a new technique called reverse addition. I will show you that when we get to it. For multiplication and division, the trick is to make sure you are keeping track of place value, and I will demonstrate that also with the example problems on the back. Okay, make sure you know your basic facts. That means if you are a little slow with your addition, subtraction, multiplication, or division facts, I would say up to 15, then I would practice those. And practice them with flashcards, or get yourself a little tool or game on the computer and work with it every day until those become natural. If you do not know your basic facts, you will be slow with math, you will be frustrated with math, and you aren't likely to go on with it. Let's now talk a little bit about place value. We want to review with you how to recognize the place value of any number in a large number, and also how to read large numbers. So our basic group of 3 is the ones, tens, and hundreds place, and we read that as a unit. This would be read 384. Couple of rules when you're writing out numbers, especially if you're writing them in words, is you want to use commas. That would be true if you're writing digits or words. Use commas with every group of 3. Use hyphens when you are writing out the word for any number between 21 and 99 that has 2 words in it. So if I were to write 22, I would write 20 hyphen 2. Never use the word and. Sometimes in oral speech we say 732, but never when you're writing. And finally, let's look at larger groups. Notice that our first group to the right it's either going to be called the thousands place, the hundreds place or the ones place, depending on your textbook. I'm speaking of that entire grouping, 308 over here. It's irrelevant which we call it, really, because we're not going to use that word as we read the number. But when you get to the next group, in this case, This is the thousands. So when I read this number, I would read 201,308. The next group is going to be in the millions place. So if I were reading this whole thing, I would read 380,201,308. The next group is in the billions place. So if I were reading this whole number, I would read 29,380,201,308. And finally, the last group here is in the trillions place. So to read the whole number, so you see every group of 3, I append the number of the group to it. So I now read 723 trillion, 29 billion, 380 million, 201,308. So review that if you need to. What they're going to do here in this particular problem set is notice I have some of these values circled. So this one that I have circled right here, what place value is that? Well, it's in the 1,000s place. The 8 is in what place value? Well, we're in the major grouping what? Of the millions, but now we're not in the ones of that group. Going back to our basic group here, we're in the tens place of that group. So we're in the 10 millions place. And hopefully you've done this before and you understand how this works. The 2, our basic grouping is now the billions place, and we're in the 10 billions place. And finally, our 7, I'm going to go up here. Our 7 is in the trillions place, and it's in the 100 trillions place. Okay, so that's it for our basic ideas. Go to the next page for some examples. Working our examples, this is addition. Notice that I am adding, and I've aligned myself by the ones place. I'm just going to add up each column, carrying as I need to. I'm free to add my add-ins in any order I want, whatever seems easiest to me. 6 plus 8 is 14, plus 9 is 23. 23. Again, adding in any order, I can get 9, 10, 12. Adding in any order, I could get 8, 9, and 7 is 16. Put your comma in and circle your answer. The next one is doing a similar thing. I'm just illustrating the ease with which we add when we can group any groups of 10. So notice as I'm adding over here, I've got a group of 10, so that makes this easy. 16, I've got a group of 10, that's 10 with 6 is 16. I've got 3 plus 5 is 8. I don't have a group of 10 there, so add them in any order. I'm going to do 8 plus 6 is 14 and 2. Again, make sure that you circle your answer and put your comma in. Okay, look for groups of 10 is my advice to you. Okay, moving down now to do subtraction. The traditional method is what we call borrowing. I cannot subtract 9 from 3, and so I need to borrow from my tens place, making it 13. 13 minus 9 is 4. I've got 3. I still cannot subtract 8 from 3. So again, I need to borrow, making that 1 and making that 13. 13 minus 8 is 5. 1, again, I cannot subtract 7 from 1, so I borrow, making that 11. 11 minus 7 is 4. 7 minus 3 is 4, and 4 minus 2 is 2. Putting in my parentheses and circling my answer. I mean my comma and circling my answer. Now let's do this same problem in reverse addition. What would that look like? In this case, I'm just going to ask, what do I add to get? What do I add to get? I'm going to make this a little larger for me so the printing's nicer. What do I add to 9 to get 3? Well, nothing. I first have to make it 13. So I'm going to put my 1 down there and now think 13 in my head. What do I add to 9 what do I add to 9 to get 13? And the answer is 4. Now, here, I'm not looking at this as 18. I'm going to look at that as 8 plus 1. What do I add to 9 to get 4? Well, again, that's really 14. What do I add to 9 to get 14? The answer is 5. 7 plus 1, 8. What do I add to 8 to get 12? Again, not 2, but 12, so I have to put my 1 down there. What do I add to 8 to get 12? And your answer is 4. What do I add to 4? Because it's 3 plus 1 to get 8, and your answer is 4. What do I add to 2 to get 4? And your answer is 4. And hopefully those are the same number, and they are. So, wow, except for the last one. That's certainly, what do I add to 2 to get 4? And the answer is 2, excuse me. Okay, so you might want to play around with that a little bit. Let's look at our last couple examples on page 3. Multiplying here, I first start with what's in the ones place, the 7, and then I'm going to multiply by every digit above. 7 times 5 is 35. Carry the 3. 7 times 0 is 0, plus 3 is 3. 7 times 3 is 21. And now I'm going to switch colors and do the tens place, 9 times 5. Now notice I'm in the tens place with my 9, so I want to write my answer beginning in the tens place. That's what we mean by keeping track of place value. 9 times 5 is 45. Carry the 4 in this case. 9 times 0 is 9 with a 4. And 9 times 3 is 27. Then we add our partial products. 5, 8, 5, 9, 2. Put in your comma and circle your answer. For our next problem, now we have a division problem. Division is tricky because you have to always be estimating, and sometimes it doesn't work out well for you, so that you have to go back, erase, and retry something else. So it takes a lot more patience than the other operations. Generally, students do not enjoy it as well, but I just want to encourage you to do the best you can. We will be reviewing it, and then we won't be doing much more with it. You'll be using a calculator later on rather than doing long division. But we've noticed the whole number here is 517. So the first number that's larger than that is all the way over to the thousands place. Okay. That's important because our first answer will be written right there. And this is keeping track again of the place value. So I'm asking myself, what do I multiply by 5 to get 32? Because that would be the first largest value as a multiplier of 5. So the answer would be 6. I'm writing it here. Multiplying back by everything, I get 42. That's a 4. 6 plus 4 is 10. 31. Sorry, I'm learning to write with this stylus. Subtracting, or adding in reverse. This would be a good time to practice that. I'm going to say 2 plus what is 10, but I said 10, so I'm going to put a 1 down there. And that is 8. 0 plus 1, 1 plus what is 2. And 1 plus what is 2. And the 3's cancel out. Now what am I doing? I'm asking myself, 5 goes into 10. How many times? 2, and my answer, notice, goes right there. Multiplying back again, I might want to erase that. Multiplying back, I'm going to get 2 times 7 is 14. 2 times 1 is 2, plus 1 is 3. What did I do? Oh, I forgot to... I did not... Okay, let's try that again. I need to bring down my 9. There we go. Okay, still got a 2 there. 2 times 7 is 14. Now carrying a 1. 2 times 1 is 2, plus 1 more is 3. 2 times 5 is 10. Subtract 5, 5, 1. Bring down the 1. Okay. Again, 5 goes into 15. How many times? 3. Right on the nose, so it might or might not work, but let's see. 3 times 7 is 21. Carry the 2. 3 plus 2 more is 5, and right on the button, 0. Okay, if you had a remainder, of course, you would have to write your remainder up with the answer. I would write remainder whatever. In this case, the remainder is 0, so you don't need to write it. All right, let's look at one more problem. Last problem, I want to look at trailing zeros. If I have a 0 in the divisor and the dividend, I can cancel that out for purposes of finding my answer. So now I'm looking at the first largest number greater than 54, and that would be 175. And I'm asking myself, 5 goes into 17. How many times? And that would be 3. Multiplying back, now I'm ignoring that 0. I'm going 3 times 4 is 12. 3 times 5 is 15, 16. Subtract 3, 1. Bring down. Again, now I'm asking myself, 5 goes into 13. How many times? And the answer is 2. Multiplying now, back, we're going to get, again, I'm going to ignore the 0. I'm multiplying back to the 4. 2 times 4 is 8. 2 times 5 is 10. Subtract. 8 plus what is 15? Notice I put a 15, so I've got a 1 down there, is 7. 1 plus what is 3? 2. Bring down. Notice that's my last time to bring down because this 0 has been canceled out. And now I'm asking 5 goes into 27. How many times? That would be 5 times. Multiplying back, 5 times 4 is 20. 5 times 5 is 25, plus 2 more is 27, and again, no remainder. So the answer to this problem is 325. And all these skills should be review for you to be in pre-algebra, but the beauty of the tape is that you are free to rewind it and watch it again and again. Be sure to bring any questions to class after you have done your homework and corrected it yourself with the answer key. I would suggest if you've missed any, when you correct it yourself, you try to do them one more time on your own to see if you can find your errors. Otherwise, bring the problem to class. We will see you on Wednesday.